Hello friends, how are you all? Hope you are doing great at various aspects of your lives. When people talk about India, that is Bharat, they often don't realize that unity in diversity is not just an idiom, but it is the soul of the country. Being the largest democracy in the world, India is likely a tapestry of different cultures, type of people, their lifestyles and beliefs. Most of the Indian states are bigger than some of the European countries. How this country still is so united? Well, there are many threads that weave this tapestry, and the bonds between them are much stronger. Of course, there must be some things which are common amongst the people and the states of the country, right? And the economy is one of them, obviously. As it is said by the veteran respected political leaders more than once, the real India lives in villages. And that is true even today. Agriculture is still practiced by a large number of citizens of the country. And despite so many evolutions and upgradations, and in fact being considered as one of the nations having the most number of young people and IT, that is information technology aware professionals, the country is still considered as Krishi Pradhan Desh. Yes, the large part of the economy and social setup is still associated with agriculture. So, when we came to know about a book named A Wall Street View of Rural India by author Sujit Sahgal by his team, we were curious to explore it, to view the rural India from the author's perspective. Now let us take a look at the cover page of the book. We all have heard a book should not be judged by its cover. Sometimes in the right context and sometimes in the wrong context, as seen in some of the TV advertisements. The fact is, we, human beings, love beauty by our nature and attractive things impresses us. Of course, there are many other aspects of a book or for that matter any media that must be considered, but the cover page makes its first impression and thus played a vital role in a large number of book reading and or purchase decisions. And thus, we at ThinkerViews acknowledge the importance of the book cover. As you can see, the cover designer has done a good job in trying to elaborate on essence of rural India through the brush strokes. You will remember some artists like R.K. Lakshman while seeing the cover page of this book. A traditional bullock cart driven by a regular, not so rich, farmer represents the theme of the book quite well. In fact, the designer has decided to use the standard fonts for the book title and tagline as well. I like the concept and the fact that the cover page is still not black and white. It has strokes of colors. While it is not the most attractive and eye-catching cover page when surrounded by many books, but can still make its presence felt. It is worth noting that the foreword of the book is not missable. Vineet Nair came up with some nice words. As the look of the book and the tagline gives the primary impression of a study research paper, you may expect a lot of analytical details in the book. What comes as a pleasant surprise is a set of interviews the author has conducted with the farmers from various states of India. The author was accompanied by different teams during all these interviews. At the same time, the author has clearly mentioned that the content of the book should not be considered as a study result, and rather the interviews and quotes should be considered as opinions of the interviewee. If you read the disclaimer carefully, the author also mentioned that some people may not be honest during the interviews. Sometimes their own perceptions or the hope to get some help from the government might be twisting the facts. The book mainly talks about following 5 topics in detail: earning and spending power, borrowing and leverage, infrastructure, attitude towards education is changing, and future of demographics. The book starts with the exploration of the author's trip to a feeder town of Uttar Pradesh. If you really are unknown to the actual flow of seeding to farming to cropping to selling it to mandi or APMC to getting profit through farming, this book is a good choice. Though I must say, considering the price, you may find the book quite costly and smaller in length. The book talks about various government schemes without any prejudices. While it applauds good things, it also draws attention to shortcomings. And as you can imagine, the content is based on the few interviews author get a chance to conduct. The content reflects the same only. To a keen reader, this book brings a glance at the rural economy and brings the fact that people still prefer doing their investments in gold and jewelry. The book tries to cover a wide spectrum by talking about corporate farming and exploring the concept of land aggregation and contract farming, and even talking about entrepreneurial farmers. By reading this book, you also get to know about traditional terms like adatiyas, mandi, and various bodies like APMC. The author also talks about KCC cards and Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity, and even the KYC norms used by various service providers like banks, mobile service providers, and more. The author also talks about modes of transportation in rural areas. While it is disheartening to read that while the canal networks and river channeling is growing gradually, the majority of farming is still monsoon dependent. It gives us the joy to read about the progressive thoughts of farmers. When the farmers are asked about how they want to use their profits, their priorities were found in the education of children. And what I like even more is the women were quite firm and fast to represent these thoughts. The book also busts various myths like adatiyas and farmers are at loggerheads. You can find both adatiyas and farmers reassuring this thought. In fact, they are having strong relationship since many years, and farmers can depend on them during their things. While talking more about the aspects explored in the book will almost give away its content, and I want to avoid spoilers as far as possible, let me quote some lines from the book to give you glimpses of the quality of writing in this book. Low farm holding lead to much lower yields as investments in irrigations, seeds, storage, and mechanization are viable. We are all friends and have been working together for years. All this friction between us adatiyas and the farmers is fictitious, and we exist in total harmony. As government schools did not offer a good learning environment due to lack of teachers, inadequate curriculum, or sheer parental aspirations, kids started increasingly attending private schools. This costs money. It is true that the future of any system depends on some core changes in the fabric or basic elements of society that can drive change. Education is one such major foundation on which much of the economy will have to be built. Education is the clear backbone of any economy's future growth, and India needs this change too. Some of the segments are named very interestingly, like Let's Get ITI Right, the case of vocational training, or The Big Indian Grain Drain. The book also talks about toilets and the need for maintaining hygiene. I wish if the impact of the use of chemical fertilizers against the organic ones, the way of pumping out water from the earth and the use of technology in that, etc., are explored in a very detailed manner, the book could have been more informative. However, every work has its own boundary. While the book talks about education, it also talks about the fact that educated people should use education in the betterment of farming rather than leaving it for desk jobs. It is rare to find such a conversation in books. So, in summary, I can say overall a pricey and small book that tries touching the soul of rural India in the aspects of agriculture. It is not for time pass reading. If you really want to know the real rural India, it is worth going for. ThinkerViews rating around 7.5 out of 10 stars. So, have you already read the book? Are you planning to read it? What do you think about this book review? Do you find it helpful in deciding whether to go for the book or not? Please do share your genuine remarks via comments below. If you have enjoyed listening to the review, please hit the like button and do not forget to share it with your friends and other fellows whom you think such reviews interest more. Till we meet with our next podcast, bye bye, take care, namaskar.